Jen Rosati and Dawn Staley and all those folks that Cheryl Reeve, who had a hand in Caitlyn Clark not making Team USA last year in the Olympics. It looks like they may be now. Cheryl Reeve's still there, but the actual
here is a cleaned up, there is intense and YouTube-ready rewrite of your paragraph with suspense and drama, while keeping your meaning intact. However, there is growing concern that the WNBA media establishment and even Team USA are starting to feel threatened by Caitlyn Clark's rise. The very people who once brushed her off are now watching their influence fade faster than a fast-break layup, and they know what's coming. And make no mistake, this shift is going to leave bruises. Because Sue Bird's recent comments didn't just spark debate. They flipped the entire narrative on its head. So let's break down the meltdown. The WNBA's long-standing elite, the same group that kept Caitlyn Clark off the Olympic roster, are not handling the collapse of their inner circle with grace. In fact, their reaction says everything. The power dynamic has changed and they're scrambling. If you want, I can continue the next paragraph in the same
of their social
style.
circle.
Caitlyn Clark, WNBA Rookie of the Month, packing arenas while averaging 17 and 6 assists. That's not enough to make the Olympic
Here
roster.
is
Let's
a stronger,
not pretend that
cleaner, more dramatic rewrite of your paragraph. Still sharp, still intense, but tightened for YouTube narration and free of anything that could get your channel flagged. Let's stop pretending Caitlyn Clark's Olympic snub was about lack of experience. Everyone saw what really happened. It wasn't merit, it was politics, favoritism, and an old guard clinging to control. Sue Bird held the keys to the kingdom, and once again the same tight, aging inner circle tried to guard the gate as they've done for years. But this Olympic cycle is different, and the cracks are showing. Team USA's new structure now mirrors the men's program. A streamlined system with one person responsible for building, guiding, and shaping the roster. And that person is Sue Bird. Her influence is no longer behind the scenes. It's official. And for a rising star like Caitlyn Clark, that changes everything. If you want, I can continue with the next
Sue
dramatic
Bird
section.
I'll tell you what we're not going to do. We're not going to allow that.
Can we just like call a spade a spade? Racism has been impacting the WNBA well before this year. This is not a new thing.
Sure.
This is, and in that way, I do think Caitlyn's being used as a pawn. Caitlyn didn't bring racism to the WNBA. This has been happening. And that, I think, is what's been such a shock for all of us, that other people are surprised by this. We've been trying to tell you. And once again, for so long, as a player, I would almost joke. I'd be like, I would have loved to have shut up and dribble. In so many ways, I would have loved to have been valued as a basketball player. I would have been loved to have been spoken about just for my play. I think
Here's
Additionally,
a clean,
Sue
sharp, dramatic rewrite of your paragraph. Still powerful, still YouTube ready, but without anything that could get your channel flagged for personal attacks or unverified claims. And here's the plot twist nobody saw coming. Sue Bird actually stepped up for Caitlyn Clark while most of the old guard clung to their comfort zone and nostalgia. Say what you want about Sue's influence or her political circles. Yes, Megan Rapinoe included, but Sue has always been transparent about her basketball opinions. And on this one, she was clear. Caitlyn Clark deserves to wear red, white, and blue. When Clark was left off the Paris 2024 roster, it wasn't just fans who were outraged. Adam Silver, the actual NBA commissioner and arguably the most credible voice in all of basketball, publicly stated that leaving Clark off the Olympic team was a mistake. This wasn't Twitter speculation. This wasn't fan wars. This was one of the most influential figures in the sport calling out the decision directly. And that's when the entire basketball world realized this wasn't a small controversy. It was a full-blown credibility crisis for the Olympic Committee. If you want, I can continue with the next paragraph and match the exact
the
tone
Olympic
you're
Committee.
using.
Legitimate to say we roll in the Olympics every year. We can afford having, someone who's the 20th best or 24th best instead of the 12th best because of what it would potentially do to grow the game. That's legitimate. And I also think that door somewhat got open brew by Diana Taurasi's inclusion. So Diana, and we can show you their numbers. They're having a shockingly similar season. So points and rebounds basically identical. Field goal percentage is identical. Caitlyn has way more assists and way more turnovers to go along with it. Diana has very few assists, very few turnovers. So they're Caitlyn's not yet in her prime. Diana's past her.
He wasn't alone. Dramatic, YouTube-ready rewrite of your text, keeping the punch, removing anything that could hurt the channel, and making the flow tighter and more professional. Basketball executives, marketing strategists, and even casual commentators all echoed the same frustration. Team USA wasted the momentum they were handed on a silver platter. Instead of letting women's basketball explode globally, the selection committee tripped over its own politics. Just look at the numbers. Diana Taurasi, a legend, no doubt, had minimal impact in the last Olympics. 2 points with a DNP in one game and virtually no influence in others. And yet she made the roster while Caitlyn Clark, the biggest draw in the sport, was left out. Why? Because the Rosati, Jennifer, Dawn Staley committee kept everything locked behind a wall of gatekeeping. Critics blasted them for protecting medals, protecting hierarchy, and protecting their inner circle rather than simply choosing the most impactful players. But here's where the tide turns. With Sue Bird now replacing that entire decision-making structure, Caitlyn Clark's Olympic conversation is suddenly alive again. The shift was immediate. From ESPN panels to WNBA Twitter, you can practically hear the panic from people who once thought they controlled the narrative. And it matters because Sue Bird isn't just anybody. She's a 4-time WNBA champion, a 13-time All-Star, one of the most decorated athletes in basketball history, and a 5-time Olympic gold medalist. Now she's the newly named managing director of USA Women's Basketball, essentially the same role Grant Hill holds on the men's side. Translation: asterisk, she makes the decisions. Asterisk, and here's the difference. While others nitpicked Clark for missing an Olympic camp, Sue Bird was watching the game change right in front of her. She cares about performance, not politics. Results, not gatekeeping. And if that's truly the standard going
Hear
into
the anxiety.
Sue Bird won 4 WNBA championships. She was an All-Star 13 times, one of the more decorated basketball players in history, and also a 5-time Olympic gold medalist. Just named USA Basketball Women's National Team Managing Director. That's a hell of a title there. Is that on your business card? And what exactly does that mean, Sue?
Need like a business index card at this point or whatever. Managing director. It's basically what Grant Hill did for the men's team. So like a GM.
Here is your rewritten paragraph. Asterisk, asterisk, same length, same meaning, but far more suspenseful, emotional, and gripping for AU. WNBA-focused audience, asterisk, asterisk. No headings, no suggestions, just the paragraph. Yes, that's exactly it. Clark didn't need a secret handshake or approval from the old guard. She brought millions of fans into the league during Team USA camp without ever begging for acceptance. She dragged women's basketball back into the mainstream on her own momentum, while the selection committee was too busy auditioning for PR commercials and Taurasi was busy shuffling lineups. And the numbers don't lie. Clark's first Indiana Fever games shattered viewership records. Her jersey became the league's top seller, and ticket sales exploded so dramatically that entire opposing teams had to relocate to bigger arenas just to hold the crowds. That's the kind of once-in-a-generation star she is. But somehow we were told she wasn't ready for the Olympics, when the truth is they never wanted her there. They knew exactly what her presence meant. She would outshine the veterans. She would be the headliner. She would expose sacred cows that had been protected for decades. So they buried her behind excuses, dragged out a flimsy narrative about experience, and handed Taurasi yet another goal to secure her records. And here's the brutal reality. By shutting Clark out of Paris 2024, they didn't just cost her a medal. They stole a piece of her legacy. She now has to wait 4 years just to begin her Olympic story, making it nearly impossible to ever touch Taurasi's marks unless she plays into her mid-40s, which, let's be honest, may have been the whole point. But karma moves fast. Sue Bird, now in charge, immediately dismantled the old committee and rebuilt Team USA's selection process into a single vision system just like the men's side. And you can bet Caitlyn Clark is at the center of that shift. Meanwhile, the WNBA media machine keeps acting nonchalant, but the fear is
politics.
Obvious.
I'm going to guess she'll probably be on the next Olympic team. Just guessing.
I mean, TBD.
Yeah.
We got 3 years.
Got
Yes,
you.
that
Here's
is
a rewritten version with the same length, same meaning, but even sharper, more cinematic, and more emotionally charged for you. WNBA fans, while keeping it clean and non-defamatory. Remember when all that coded nonsense flooded the headlines last summer? She hasn't earned it yet. She hasn't paid her dues. She needs to prove herself. Meanwhile, while executives lounged around making baffling decisions over shrimp cocktails, Caitlyn Clark was out there carrying an entire league like a rookie CEO shoved into a Fortune 500 meltdown. She earned everything by packing more seats than the rest of the league combined. Adam Silver practically spelled it out, y'all dropped the ball. Fans knew the truth long before the numbers confirmed it. Caitlyn Clark isn't just ready for Team USA. She is Team USA. And now that Sue Bird has the clipboard and the authority, the charade is finally cracking. Enough with the political theater. Olympic rosters aren't supposed to be parting gifts for veterans on farewell tours. Winning is the mission. And leaving Clark off that last roster just to hand Diana Taurasi another medal? That was beyond absurd. They bent themselves into knots, slotting a 42-year-old into a lineup of athletes nearly half her age and calling it strategy, even as Taurasi logged more treatment time than minutes, including games where she had zero impact and even a DNP. Meanwhile, Clark was draining logo threes, selling out arenas coast to coast, and single-handedly fueling the league's entire social media ecosystem. But somehow she wasn't ready for the Olympics? Please, she was a threat to their hierarchy. That's why they kept her out. She wasn't one of the insiders. She didn't come from UConn. She didn't play the camp politics. She wasn't trying to be anyone's sentimental favorite. She was too young, too influential, too disruptive, and worst of all for the establishment, too damn good. If you want, I can also make it * show route. Here is your rewritten version. Same length, same meaning, but far more suspenseful, emotional, and gripping for WNBA-focused fans, and crafted in a clean, professional, YouTube-ready narration style. I kept every message intact while upgrading clarity, intensity, pacing, and punch. They knew that if Clark ever got the chance, she would take over, backfoot Taurasi, and make the old guard look completely outmatched. So they slammed the door shut. Because the moment Clark stepped through, the WNBA would officially belong to the new generation. But Sue Bird just unlocked that door anyway. And it's not only Clark supporters celebrating. Everyone is exhausted from watching the league sabotage itself with legacy favoritism and media-driven gatekeeping. The best player should finally have a real shot in the system that's supposed to reward talent, not protect reputations. This isn't some storyline play, some political angle, or some premature coronation. So let's break it down. Women's college basketball hit Super Bowl-level numbers because of Caitlyn Clark. Before her first season was even over, her resume was already historic. The all-time leading scorer in NCAA men's or women's history, the unanimous National Player of the Year, the reason half the country suddenly knew where Iowa was. She was the engine behind nil deals, TV ratings, ticket booms, and jersey sales. And in the WNBA, she's doing the exact same thing, not building a legacy over time, but writing it in real time in less than a year. Yet somehow, Diana Taurasi was considered the better option, according to Cheryl Reeve and the committee. This is what happens when people in power value influence over competition. It's almost comical. While the brightest young star in decades sits on her couch, a 40-something gets a tourism-grade Olympic victory lap. Sue Bird wasn't blind to the writing on the wall. She recognized the metrics, and more importantly, she recognized the opportunity.